And here we are. Here we are in the thunder, the rain, food is eaten.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's happy.
It's been a good day, a really good day.
That's
and it
good.
ended
Is any day not a good day with you, though? I feel like every day is a good day for the most part.
Yeah, every day is a good day. But you know what? For me, I ebbed and flowed in a million different directions. So it's ending off a great way chatting with you, Jay.
Great. And did you know that we have a number of guests sort of already scheduled and lined up. You are the first actual guest on the Be Entrepreneurial podcast.
Flip. No way. I love
absolutely.
that.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
I love that. That makes me really happy. Thank you so much.
Makes your day even better.
I was going to say that. It really made my day so much better. What a way to end. Shoot. We should have got a glass of wine, Jay.
You know what? I was thinking that when the clock hit 7:15. That's when I thought, like, you know what? It's beyond, like, coffee's long gone. The water is gone. The Perrier is gone. We should have a glass of wine right now.
Well, we're 10 minutes overdue on that wine,
but that's
we'll
okay.
have to get it after. Yeah.
That's okay. So let's get into it. So I wanted to start by asking you what you feel it means to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah. It feels like my day every day. A little wild, a little crazy. What does it feel like? You know, I could go in so many different directions.
What does it mean to you to be entrepreneurial? What does it mean to be entrepreneurial?
Yeah, Jay, it really means for me to just steer my own bus. And it doesn't mean I'm the only person on the bus. It means I'm steering my own bus with amazing people on my bus, waiting to get on, some waiting to get off, some along for the ride, some drinking wine at 7:15. It's so flipping crazy. I was just having a conversation with a farmer actually about an hour ago because it's pouring rain out and we were both saying, like, wouldn't do it any other way, even though there's headache, even though there's, you know, lots of rain, or even in days when your day goes sideways as an entrepreneur, whatever your industry, like, I wouldn't have it any other way, because what it means is that I get to implement the ideas that come into my brain about, for any entrepreneur, but ideas that I have that I feel can work. I can turn ideas into opportunity, and then I can secure a stream of income, not just for me, but for my family, for my community. And then being an entrepreneur, in my mind, Jay, is about bringing good people along with you. I don't want to run a business and have a business or businesses to be the only person. I want other people to be in my business, because then they feel empowered. They get to see what it feels like. I'm not a micromanager at all. That's not in me. And so I love to work with good people. To me, it's just like a triple win for my family, for my community, and then for the good people that I get to work with. For me, that's being entrepreneurial, not just about me all.
And you seem to always find yourself surrounded by high energy, optimistic, great people. How is it that you always seem to have those types of people around you?
That's so interesting that you noticed that. I don't know about the high energy, because like I can only do so much high energy in the day, right? I like to my philosophy is work hard and play harder. So when I work, I like to be super laser focused, but when I play, I don't want to just play. I want to go to Greece and I want to be in a Virgin Voyages cruise, and like, I just want to play really hard. But I think, I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. And so you attract what you emit. I'm not cranky. I'm very positive. I'm very grateful. And I think I'm very settled. Now, that doesn't mean if I have a couple of drinks that I like to, you know, just like turn on some 80s music and dance around, because I do. But I also like to have a very settled mind. And so I think I just attract what I am. And I wouldn't have understood that maybe in my 30s, but now I'm close to my 60s. And it feels so good to, like, I'm building my community of people in food and people I'm doing an art project. And, you find your tribe and you attract people who either want to be on your bus or want to be like a bus driver, right? It's so interesting. I don't know what that is, except my only answer is it's the law of attraction. You attract what you put out. I'm not cranky. I'm kind of fun, Jay.
Oh, I know that. We know all about that. It's a hoot. So one thing, actually, let me ask you this. Who's your favorite band?
Who's my favorite band?
Yeah.
Like of any era? Well,
any era, any time.
Yeah. Well, I like a lot of music. I grew up around music and I played different instruments. I played the cello. I played the trombone. I played the flute. I played many different instruments. So I love music, but okay. Well, that people call me Spicy Jan, right, Jay?
I do.
Okay. So who do you think is my favorite band? You guess.
Oh, can you give me an era?
No. You
ABBA.
know that people call me Spicy Jan, right?
It's not the Spice Girls, is it?
Of course it's the Spice
Really?
Girls,
Your
Jay.
favorite band is the Spice Girls.
I think so. Yeah.
I've
lots of 80s music and they're not 80s, but, I really love the Spice Girls because I like to tell me what you want, what you really, really want. And they just they nail it, right? Every song, they just nail it about being a woman and being empowered and doing what you want to do. Yeah. And it's just you're not coming after my peeps unless you love me first. You got to love my peeps too. I just love what they stand for or stood for in that space and place when they were
time
popular.
and place sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's so it's
I like
funny you
lots of
mentioned that,
music.
right? Because you nail everything that you do. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you do and why you do them.
Sure.
The two observations that I've had, and these are strictly observations. You can tell me whether or not they're accurate.
Okay.
I'll flip it over to you and get your perspective. So the two things are, number one, you're a vision person. You can see things that other people can't necessarily don't necessarily see or aren't necessarily seeing them, and you just make them happen. So that's sort of thing number one. And thing number two is you are not afraid to constantly try new things. So you always have new things on the go, but your core business, which you do so well, which is your tasty road trips, which I'm going to ask you about shortly, but your tasty road trips, those staples, people love them.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. So you just continue to do that, those amazing experiences. But you're always testing, trying. Some things fly, others don't, but nothing is half-assed. Right. And you're just always trying new things. So what can you tell me about sort of how you think about things as a vision and why it is that despite the success of your core business, Tasty Road Trips, you continue to try new things, do new things, and you're always sort of up to something new, some of which sort of gets added to your business as a little bit more of constants, and some of them are more periods of time.
Yeah. Well, I think that, the key thing as you sort of struck on both of those areas of I see things and want to do things that other people might go interesting. Whereas I go, interesting. Let's try that. If I'm a real firm believer that, some people have ideas and some people take ideas and turn them into opportunity. And I'll be really honest, Jay, I didn't understand that sort of concept or that methodology when I was before I was 40, because I thought that I was just going to have my 2 kids and go to work every day and live in my lovely community. And the reality is I didn't know that there was something else. It wasn't in me. I didn't grow up around entrepreneurs. I didn't understand that until one day at one home party, someone said, "Hey, you'd be really good at this." And I went, "Who, me?" And it was that moment when, that was 17 years ago, when someone was interested in showing me a path of something different. I had no experience. I knew nothing about sales, marketing, recruiting, home parties. I knew none of that. But that was really my journey into someone saying, here's a different way to think about making money. And here's a different way to think about having a different career path. Things I knew nothing about, like really, because there was no one in my circle doing that, or my parents or my siblings. So I've learned over time that it's okay to step your toe into something and not be good at it. Then no one cares. No one's looking. So you just quietly let it go away. But to also not be afraid to step into something. And when you are good at it, celebrate it. As humans, we have this weird thing about like, oh, I'm good at it. I can't, like, I shouldn't keep doing it because other people might wonder like why I'm doing it. And I'm like, F that, like nail it, be amazing at it, show other people how to be really good at it, and move forward and figure out what else in that stream should I be doing that nobody else is thinking about. And it's like, I get pretty passionate about it, Jay, because there's so many opportunities. My brain doesn't think one dimensional. I don't just think about ideas. That's to me one dimensional. My brain now thinks multi-dimensional, like mega dimensional, because I feel like in every conversation, in every community, in every store, shop, restaurant, farm, I see opportunity, an opportunity for revenue streams. And I've just been around it so much in my own business and around entrepreneurials just like you that think differently and think wider, think bigger. And I'm not talking about making more money. I'm thinking about opportunity that provides streams of income that, yes, does produce income. But that income can be shared with other people by teaching them or showing them or making a suggestion. I don't have to be paid to make suggestions. And if I go in someone's shop or farm and I see something, I might say, could I tell you something that I noticed that you might find of value? So, I think this way because I don't know how to think any other way, but I'm not afraid to fail. And if something doesn't work, I usually just pivot it, like just turn the dial a little bit and see if some other ideas are there. And if they are great, then they might bubble up. And if they're not, I just put it to that and I put it there. So I'm just not afraid anymore.
Yeah. And so this is, so if you fast forward to today, if you had a new sort of like, I'll call it the shower idea, you're in the shower and it's just like that, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen. Can you take me back to the point of time where somebody sort of said to you, did you know that there's another way to do this? I see something in that you may not have seen. Can you take me back to then? Because I would love to know, like, what was it that made you take that first leap? What was it that made you take that first step? Everybody's a first-time entrepreneur sometime. And that's often the biggest struggle. Once you figure out how to take an idea and bring it to fruition, and go along that first journey, regardless of whether it's a success or a failure, you learn enough along that way to go, okay, I understand this. Going back to that point where you hadn't gone through that before, what was it that made you take the leap as opposed to not? And were there certain things that maybe almost held you back? Was there a period where there was almost no spicy Jan?
No.
Or was it no, you heard that person talk and you went, I can do that. Take me back to that time.
Yeah. So, the whole spicy Jan thing is hilarious because I've been spicy Jan for many years, and that came because I was doing home parties and people would always go, oh, and I was selling food and part of that food was spices. And people would always go, which spice girl are you? And it would be like Old Spice, Mama Spice, like spices I didn't want to be, Jay. And so then one day someone said, Yes. One day someone said, I think you're spicy Jen, and it just stuck. But, it's really interesting. I think what happened was when I took that leap into working in the direct sales industry with no experience and someone teaching me, I ended up being really good in it. But that was safe because I had my full-time job and I took on this side hustle selling gourmet food with no experience. It was safe, Jay, because I still had my full-time job. So I knew that if this didn't work, it was okay. But I never looked at it if it didn't work. I actually never even thought about it not working. I was working with someone great that said, here's what I do. And I said, okay, if you do that, I'll do that too. And she was right. It worked. And I was really good at it. And I was good at it because I didn't get hung up on myself. And, but what ended up happening, if I fast forward, I stayed in that industry for 12 years. I worked for one company and then I chose to leave that company and work for another company. I got my experience and then I went, hey, here's an opportunity. Rather than staying here where everybody was, I said, I see an opportunity. I'm going to take a big step and go over there. Again, it was still safe because I was working full time. But I went over there, rocked it, worked across Canada, was super successful. But Jay, the cool thing was that because of the success that I had, I earned these really awesome trips. And every time we went on a trip, they treated us to a food tour. So my brain had this concept of culinary tourism globally. And it just kind of every year we'd go away, it would just culminate and it would just continue to be ooh, I love this concept. Fine dining to street food, marketplaces to farm experiences. And I loved this concept. Anyways, for 12 years, I did this for someone else. I never really felt like I was an entrepreneur. I was a consultant who worked for someone else. I was selling somebody else's product. And there came a time where all of a sudden I thought, hey, I can do this on my own. I'm still working, so it's safe, but I think instead of working for someone else, and I loved the company I was working with. I loved the owners I was working for. But it came a time where they offered me another position. It was a really great opportunity. Nobody knows this. I've never talked about it and I won't divulge too much about it because I turned it down and said, I think it's time for me to go on my own. And that was the pivotal point of going from sort of safe working for another company, selling their product and using almost like a franchisee, but it was called being a consultant, being a distributor. That I went and I was just I think it's time for me. I understand the concept. I understand the financial implications, the tax implications. I understood all of that I was I think it's time for me to start food tours. And that again was a light bulb moment walking down the street in Paris, Ontario, when I went, hey, I feel like every Saturday I'm walking my own food tour. I get my cheese. I say hi. We visit. I sample. I go over to the health food store. We say hi. I visit. I sample. I go down to the butcher, the baker, the cheese shop, all these shops where all of a sudden I was oh my gosh, can I swear on this?
Oh, absolutely.
Can I? Shit.
You can say whatever
I'm
you
walking my own food tour every damn Saturday. And I was just wait a minute. I need to be offering food tours. And that's really how it started. I was
believe
good
they
at
call
what
that
I
the
was.
light bulb moment.
It was. I was just what the F? I am walking my own food tour every weekend. So that was I sort of tapped into it, was always safe. And I did end up leaving my daytime career. Always had a side hustle and then started as a full entrepreneur with a side hustle. But now I am a full no other business, just my own. So yeah, that's how it really there was a pivotal moment. And it was just I think I have this whole entrepreneurial thing. I want to now try it for real. Nobody knew what I was talking about though. It's interesting, but they trusted that I did, and they believed in me and supported me. And here I am over 5 years later. Awesome.
Amazing. No, it's amazing.
Thanks.
And the, you know, what's interesting to me is, you know, so many, I think, first-time entrepreneurs have this sense that the initial idea they have is going to be the thing.
Yeah.
And I find in my experience, it's so often simply taking that first step and moving down that entrepreneurial journey exposes you to so many different things you otherwise wouldn't have even known existed.
Yeah.
That it is really remarkable to me how few entrepreneurs are doing the thing today that they either thought they wanted to do or thought they would be doing, simply because they start to see what it looks like and experience what it looks like to turn an idea into reality. And the things you learn along the way expose you to all of this other great stuff. And you're a perfect example of somebody who started doing something, saw something else, and now here you are doing that and so much more.
Right. And I give a lot of kudos.
Can I ask you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I give a lot of kudos to the company that I was working with, Sunset Gourmet, and I tell the owners often, still years later, thank you, because if I didn't work for them, if I didn't take the step and leave the one company and switch to their competitor, which everyone was like, "I can't do that," I was like, "I certainly can."
Watch me.
Right. And if I didn't take that chance to switch, I would have never been exposed to culinary tourism globally, Jay. Like, I really, really appreciate they give me those experiences, because I was really good in their business and I ended up leaving them, but I really do value them as a stepping stone for where I am today, because I wouldn't have had any knowledge about food tours at all if it wasn't for them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about social sales versus social media.
Yeah.
And I say this, I hate when people say, I don't want to date myself. I don't want to date myself, but I'm going to do it here. I sort of,
I've never heard this term.
This isn't about me, right? So, but my sort of journey went from sort of the independent business world to the corporate world to the entrepreneurial world. And like, when prior to the social media game, right?
Yeah.
So not prior to social media game, but prior to social media. Yeah. When people came to me when they weren't entirely certain about what they wanted to do, I think people came to me for the reason that I did all sorts of stuff. So kind of like you, like this sort of before my sort of corporate world, 12 years with the same company, I think I worked like 16 jobs in 5 years, right? It was just like, I went and I worked one job. I was like, oh, okay, that was fun. I don't like that. I'll go and do another. And you just I did all sorts of stuff. I did marketing. I did sales. I did operations. I did call center. I did everything. I sold cars. I sold used cars to try to get sales experience. And I evidently made my career or built my career in sales leadership, sales management. And so at that time, when people would come to me and say, I don't know, what's your recommendation? I'm not quite sure what I want to do. My advice was always the same thing. Go do sales. Go do sales, because if you can learn to sell, you can do anything.
It's so true.
And, I was talking to somebody that I used to work with. And so I like you sort of said that's so true. And here's where the question comes in. Would you say that is still true today, or has the answer changed to social media? So if somebody to say, what should I do today? What's the thing? If I could do anything, what is it today? Would you give that same answer today, which is go do sales? Or would you say, figure out content, figure out social media? Because I feel like it's a different answer when I ask people, I get that answer today, which is figure out content. If you can do content, if you can figure out your social media game, you can do anything. It's the same answer that I used to give for sales. what's your opinion on today? Is it sales? Is it social media? Is it something else? If you could give somebody advice to say, go and do this, and this will help you do anything you want. What is the this?
It's a really interesting question, because in my mind, those are two completely different things, because of the fact that social media to me is something that you do and something that you're behind. And if you don't know whereas sales is relationship building, is trust, is connecting, is listening. To me, they're two totally different streams of my business. Do I sell, or do I self-sell through social media? Yeah. But if you don't have the ability to connect with people and do a face-to-face sale or do a call sale, or if you've never had that experience, then I think you don't really understand the power of social media, of building a relationship and making a connection, which may turn into a sale. Because we all know that a sale is something that it may happen or it may not happen, but either way, you have the opportunity to build a connection with someone, to have a lasting relationship, to have a short relationship, to build some trust, loyalty. So to me, it's a really interesting concept. I think, you want to be able to create content, but to do what? Unless you're social selling and you have no connection with people, which I don't think that that's a successful business model. People want it. When my guests are like, oh my gosh, Spicy Jan, like, we're meeting you, I need to be able to build a relationship with them. I need to be able to ask them about how their experience was. It's not about me, and listen to what they're interested in if they want something else. If I didn't know how to sell, I wouldn't be listening for, we have a family event and we live here, and perhaps, our family could come and we could have a celebration and go on would you do a group tour for us? To me, they're two totally different things, yet they're the same. But sales, in my mind, in my experience, is a relationship, is a connection, not a sell, but the way to build that there might be a sale. Whereas social media is I can sell on social, but I can't build a relationship until I actually see someone.
I do want to mention, you are phenomenal at social.
Oh, why do you say that? No, really, why do you say that? What's phenomenal?
So I'll tell you, I have two observations.
Okay.
The first is that, actually three observations. The first is that you show up every day. Almost every day. If you can't open up Instagram without seeing Spicy Jan. And if you're not seeing Spicy Jan, you're wondering what she's up to. You're one of those brands. So that's sort of observation number one. That brings me to observation number two, which is, you're ever evolving. And I know that's your nature. So you may sort of take that for granted and go, well, yeah, of course you're going to be ever evolving. But from the outside looking in, you see it. You can see, you understand the trends, you understand how to connect with people online, and I'd say, push the envelope a little bit in terms of doing some new things, trying new things, standing out. But like, if you didn't know any better, you think you have a team of social media managers around you running your social media.
That's right.
So regardless of whether that's true, I don't know. And especially, I don't care. All that really matters is what your audience, what your people see. But that's, your social media is really good. So that's the second thing. The third observation is, people are engaged.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to grow your followers. People are engaged, and I know they're engaged because I just look at the comments for fun. You've got people who are saying, I was on a tour 3 years ago. I'm like, you're on a tour 3 years ago and you still follow Spicy Jan? Like, I mean, that's a little bit abnormal for somebody to sort of have, a one day or a weekend local food tour and then to still be following them and still be engaged with them 2 to 3 years later, right? So those are the three things that I see. Whether or not my observations are indicative of the reality, that's just what I see. But you're really strong on social.
You're
really
freaking awesome. Thanks. You know what? I call them my food friends, and they are my food friends. There's this one lady. It's interesting. I met her on social, and then she came on a tour, and then she brought her twin sister on a tour, Sheila and Jane. And now they take all my tours, and they're amazing supporters. And I met them on social media. Yeah. Like I do call them my food friends. Now people travel with me. And I think what it is they trust me and they look at me as a friend because I'm just like them, right? I don't make myself anyone different than, people who follow me on social. I'm not looking for 1 million followers. I'm just looking to be authentically me. And, if you like that, you follow. And if you don't like that, I guess you don't have to, right? That's the beauty of it all.
Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy doing the social, or does it feel like a bit of a chore, or a bit of a task, or is it something that you truly enjoy doing?
And I manage a couple of different, I do my own social. Excuse me. And I manage a couple of channels, but it's the one thing that I probably will either never give up, or although I've been thinking about it recently, only because of time, because I've got some interesting projects on the go, but I like it. My brain, I'm a lifelong learner, Jay, which you probably figured out. And, so my brain kind of likes the changes in the algorithm. My brain loves threads. My brain likes all the Reels template, the changes in CapCut. My brain gets excited when these changes come. It means that it takes a little bit of time to learn them, but then I like to share that with my other audiences and teach them how to do it too. So, no, it's never a chore for me. I like social. Yeah.
Amazing.
I like it a lot.
So I want to shift over to talk about your core business.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Tasty Road Trips.
I eat and drink for a living. What a friggin' good gig, right?
What a shame, eh? Tough life.
I eat some really good food today. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Tell me about Tasty Road Trips. What does it mean to you?
That's a good question. I like that question. What does it mean to me? I could say a lot of different things, but it's important to me. It's important to me because it isn't about me. I just facilitate the means for awesome people to come into small towns in Ontario. And because I grew up in Toronto, I understand the cement mentality. And I don't know how to say it any other way except they live in cement. The high rise, there's cement everywhere. You have just a boulevard with grass and trees. I get it.
There's a rap song by Jurassic 5 called Concrete Jungle.
Oh, is there?
It's called, you should listen to it. It's called Concrete
Oh
Jungle.
my gosh, we should outro it with
we're
Concrete
going to do
Jungle.
that. We're going to outro to Concrete Jungle.
That'd be
Carry
cool.
on. I had to.
Yeah, make sure I want to hear that. So that's how I grew up and that's all I really knew. And that now in rural Ontario, it is really, Tasty Road Trip is important, Jay, to me, but to our communities, because I've created a business where I can shine a light on good people that have small businesses in food, in farming, in SIP. These are just really cool people who love sharing good food, or have a little boutique shop, or, have an art gallery. These are small businesses. And so it's important to me because this is where I live. I live in the middle of nowhere. There's one stoplight, one. And there's so many great things here. And then I go 10 minutes down the road, and then I go 20 minutes down the road and in different directions. And these are the communities that I highlight. So to me, it's important because I don't complicate the ability to move people around. It doesn't have to be pretentious. It doesn't have to be come as you are. If you could see the pants that I'm wearing, my pants are ripped, and I don't live in the space where you have to look a certain way to do certain things. I live in a space where everyone's welcome, to explore what it feels like to live in rural Ontario, where there's greenery and there's grass and there's weeds and there's hay and there's rye and soybeans and all these great things. So that's important to me as I'm getting older to showcase rural Ontario. I feel that I'm a vehicle to do this, and I don't know why, but I am, and it works. And that's what's important to me. Making money is just part of it. And I think, I teach an entrepreneurship course, Jay, and I often am saying, like, it's not about making money. The money will come. If you want too much of it, that's where entrepreneurs struggle, because they want a lot of money. You only need so much for your employees, to pay your bills, to pay yourself. That's all, in my mind, it's about. The rest of it, it can go towards hiring other people or go into my community for different initiatives. So all of that, you say, what's important? That's important to me. Have enough and to shout out small town Ontario, to dress how I want, to eat amazing food, and to meet good people and to hire good people. Like, that's important to me. I have 2 great people who are on my team. I have a third who's part-time. My husband, he's my shipper and handler. And then I have a freelancer. So, like, I love working with great people. Yeah. All of that.
Amazing. And what would you say is the most challenging part of running Tasty Road Trips?
I don't think there's anything challenging. What do you mean?
Or what was? So anytime so take me through sort of like, and don't necessarily need to take me through the whole journey, but at some point in the way, was there something that was a barrier that had to be overcome? Something that looked like it may get in the way of what you were trying to accomplish? Was there ever a time where it was like, yeah, this is great, but oh my goodness, this is hard. Was there some part of it, or did it all just come that naturally? And if it did, that may be because it wasn't your first rodeo too, right? And did that have something to do with it, where the Tasty Road Trips wasn't your sort of first go arounds? Tell me about that.
I mean, it was, right? It was my first true entrepreneurial endeavor, because I was protected by working for someone else before. But no, I don't really think there was ever, I can't say that there was something that kept me up at night. I'm pretty settled as an individual. And when I come across things that get in the way and I can't even think, what? Maybe like insurance hiccups, like talking with my insurance agent and they don't understand, like, what the heck is a food tour? And right, they think I'm like the wine tour operator. And no, not really. I think the only challenge I ever have as I grow is time. And so time is very important. I'm very efficient with my time. I like everything scheduled, because I don't have time to wait, right? I have multiple businesses and I have multiple projects in those multiple businesses. And as I evolve, other people want to work with me. So that's a good thing. So then as a consultant, then I'm working on multiple projects, which means time and hiring people. And no, I've never really had, I can't say never, but I don't really look at problems or challenges as a problem. Like, I'm not one of those people that go, oh my gosh, this is happening. That's just not me. I just have a glass of wine at the end of the day and wake up the next day and go.
Or 2.
Yeah. Usually
no,
just one.
What strikes me is, and I don't necessarily want to put words in your mouth, right? But what strikes me is that I'm hearing that there's a difference between challenges and your mindsets around challenges. And what I'm hearing is that there were challenges, but because you had the right mindset and because you had the right mentality and because you sort of have the ability to stay calm, take things as they come, understand that not everything is just going to flow the way you want, that you understand that is a part of entrepreneurship. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not necessarily that there weren't challenges, but it's that no challenge is worth getting stressed out, getting bent out of shape. A challenge is just a part of the journey. And so the only option you have is either, or I guess the only 3 options you have are take a challenge and run, take a challenge and get stressed out and try to figure it out, or take a challenge and just deal with it. And it sounds like your mentality and your mindset is more the latter, which makes you feel like there's not a lot of challenges. Am I correct in that?
I love that you just said that, because I think I've lived in this space for such a, probably about 10 years that I don't really look at too many things as nothing really stresses me out, to be honest. I went and started hot yoga probably about 15 years ago. And I did hot yoga for about 5 years. I don't do it anymore. I probably should. But hot yoga did something really interesting to me. And it really helped me learn how to settle my mind and just be very still. And hot yoga was very good for me in a time when my life was very chaotic and busy. And this is sort of pre being an entrepreneur. Well, maybe during that time that I just started on the consulting journey. But what's really interesting is, as you were speaking, what I realized is that COVID was probably a challenge. Now, I don't look at challenges being something that are bad, and I don't look at challenges being something that needs to keep me up at night. And I don't like things to upset me or worry me, so I just don't go to that space because of my mindset. But COVID, I think, really taught me that how fluid I was, quite honestly, and how agile I was, because my business model completely changed. And it only took me about 5 days when we went into lockdown, and I had just won some grant money for, I was on a trajectory to have an amazing year in 2019, and, things were awesome. But it took me about 5 days when we went into lockdown to figure out what I was going to do. And that was go virtual and highlight my destination hosts.
Yeah, you were early. You're very early. You were ahead of the curve on the virtual offerings.
Totally. Yeah. And so that taught me how adaptable I was. And then when we went back into in-person and when we're in bubbles again, that showed me how adaptable, because I totally turned what I used to do as being the guide. Hi, everyone. I'm Jan. Let's go on a tour. I changed that to become this self-guided, all-inclusive experience. And I'll be really honest, Jay, to say that most people told me it would work. And some very influential people that I looked at to say, what do you think? Said, not going to work, Jan. It's not going to work. People want you on the tour. They like you. You're very knowledgeable. You give them the history, blah, 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 blah. To which I was like, I actually think it's not about me at all. I'm just fun, awesome, but they don't come to see me. They come to see the community. They come to taste. They come to meet these great people. I said, I disagree. So that's probably a really pivotal point where I went, I don't think you guys get this. And it wasn't a challenge in my mind. It was just they don't understand what is what now post coming out of COVID. And I felt like I did, because I was always out with my guests and out with my clients, and I could see trends in how people behave together that I realized they don't have to behave together. They actually want to be with their own people. So that to me was an interesting observation where my business pivoted. I never looked at it as a challenge. I never, honestly, Jay, I never in COVID thought my business is going to go under. I just always thought my business will look different. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to take it back to what it was, because I identified I couldn't scale. I couldn't scale my business the way it was. So COVID actually helped me learn how to scale and to be fluid and to adjust and adapt. And it worked. That I did scale, and I'm continuing to scale.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, you're still doing it today. You're still doing it the way that you adapted to with the self-guided tours as opposed to the guided tours.
Yeah. My most popular products. Sometimes people still want me, groups too, or corporate groups, but
of course they
typically, well, I'm kind of fun to hang out with. I like my own company. And I do make it entertaining when I go out with people, right? And I know a lot of historical facts and community facts, but I dive into all of that. So I'm knowledgeable, but yeah.
And something tells me
I
that
guess
connecting with
COVID
those
was
people and
challenging.
sort of keeping that element of your business as well, just given everything that you said, helps you to keep sort of closely connected to, absolutely, you get the feedback from people on the self-guided tours and that sort of thing. But when you do the tours, you're always listening, you're always looking, and something tells me that you're finding ways to improve both your guided tours and your self-guided tours because always that close to your customers and spending the day with them or spending a tour with them and spending some time with them. There's no better way to understand what they're looking for out of a local food tour than to be right there beside them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to go to every tour and say hello at some point because I know where they are. So I always try to pop in, so I can picture, right? So yeah, that's important.
So can we finish? I want to finish off with giving back.
Yeah.
So I think there's two ways to look at giving back. Well, there's three ways if you consider not giving back away, but what society you want to live in, right? So if you think about giving back, there's really two ways to think about it. There's for entrepreneurs. There's sort of running a business, being an entrepreneur, ideally being successful, and then giving back and doing some things to give back. That's one way. The other way is incorporating giving back into what you do.
Yeah.
And you are on the latter side. You incorporate local community, local businesses, helping people in pretty much everything you do in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Would be my observation. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. I love that that's your observation. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you a really easy example on how easy it is to give back in your business. As an entrepreneur, I recently learned of, not that I recently learned, but I know that arts and culture days are, in September and October. And it's something that a lot of, communities participate in big ways and small ways. And I live in a small town. And I decided to put in a grant application for Art and Culture Day in my community. Where I live is not where people typically want to come and visit because we're just south of Paris, Ontario. Most people want to go into Paris, Ontario. And so I decided that with my ability that I have, the voice that I have, the connections that I have, that I would put in a grant application for Art and Culture Day in my small community. And we were given the grant, a small grant, but it gives me the opportunity to shine a light on the good people in my community. Not a food tour. It's an art and culture day. So it's me finding, artists of different expression, highlighting some of our pizza places, like keeping it real and authentic to what we do with a beautiful little artisan shop. To me, that's giving back because I get no value out of it for a tasty road trip, but I get value out of it for my community and to empower them that these small dollars can bring people into our community. They can shop with us. They can shop in our stores. They can go to our pizza places. They can go to our library and they can meet some of our local artists of all ages. To me, that's giving back. Giving back doesn't always have to be about the money going somewhere. And so it is a thread that I have woven through everything that I do that, again, I'm a vehicle to be able to give back in ways that aren't necessarily, sure. Sometimes people ask me like, can you donate a free tour? Sure. Yes, I do that. But giving back is about like saying, these are great people with great product. And why don't you go to this farm? And let's do art and culture days or let's think differently. I work with the Rock
Just
here.
say you share the wealth is putting it mildly.
Yeah. Sharing the wealth of, what it is to live in a community and care about the community and just be community focused. And, that might sound a little bit like, but I want to live that way, Jay. It's the way that I choose to be. Don't get me wrong. Like I was just in Greece and go on a cruise. But when I go to those communities, I want to do the same kind of stuff. I want to meet the people. I want to go to the farms. I had some beautiful farms table experiences in Greece. I just want to I don't need to go to the chains. I want to go to where the people are. And to me, that's giving. So I go on social. I tell great people, these are great farmers in Greece, had these great experiences. I just, I just think there's a lot of opportunity for us to not think about oh, I haven't made enough money. I can't give back. Give back in the ability that you have to use your voice, to use your connection, to connect people together, to make good things.
Love it. And the other thing I think is you give back with the human spirit, the human connection, right? And I always say there's nothing will make a person more than spending some time with somebody that makes them happy. And that's something that you do a lot is you just connect people together, and you sort of just have this ability to move people around small local communities. If somebody's going to sort of go on a tasty road trip, they better be prepared to touch, more people and more places in that that small local community than they ever would have imagined. And I love that part of what you do.
Yeah, it's important. It's kind of cool though, right? A lot of people don't get to, I worked corporate. I worked 9 to 5. I worked in the office, right? And if that's the only mindset that you're ever given, I think it's fine that there's so much more that can just enhance what this journey of life is all about, right? Than just being in a box all day long. I was in the box for a really long time and I didn't know anything different, but now I like to tell people why that's different and help people figure out that going to work every day is okay, but don't value yourself by who you work for or where you go or what that place looks like. For too many years, I lived in that world of validating who I was by who I worked for and people that I met and people that were in my circle, and how I had to look on trend. I was squashed all of that. And damn, it feels I feel way more empowered now as an entrepreneur and a real community cheerleader than I was before when I was bringing in a nice paycheck and had certain types of clothes. Way better.
And now you've built a giant circular, inclusive, local community box that everybody can play.
Everybody can play. It's no longer a box. You're right. It's very circular.
Well, listen, I've got this. I don't know if you can see it. I've got this hourglass behind me. And that is my way of making sure that no podcast goes beyond an hour out of respect for the people who listen. And I can see that the shape of it has slowly gathered at the bottom. So I think we're slowly getting on. So why don't we end with this? What advice would you give to a new entrepreneur today who is just starting out on their journey?
Well, my first piece of advice would be the first person that you need to work with is a bookkeeper. I think that it's really important to know money in, money out, tax implications, making sure that you're legitimately making money and paying yourself. And I don't care if you're paying yourself, $5 a week. When you don't pay yourself, you don't understand the value of the money as an entrepreneur. My other set of advice would be to don't do it alone, right? Sometimes it's I have an idea and I'm going to make a business plan and then I'm going to do this and that, but what are the right things? Hire a coach, work with a consultant, work with a local organization that works with entrepreneurs, whatever that is the right fit for you. Work with someone who has gone before you and done what you're looking to do. Align yourself. I always like to say, align yourself with successful people who have done what you want to do, because they will help guide you on the journey. And it doesn't have to be the same industry, but they know how to navigate, how to start a business. And it doesn't need to be about content per se, but connecting to the right places for that content is really important and can help save a ton of time.
And what advice would you give to existing entrepreneurs, people who are running their business, who are sort of at a point where they're looking at what do they do next, where do they go, that sort of thing. So people who are running a successful business today, what's the advice to them?
Yeah. My best advice would be to really think about multiple streams of income, multiple streams of revenue. Sometimes we're just like, no, this is all I do. I only do this. But you have to have your ears really open. Active listening to me is a really important skill that I've learned over the years because you hear so much when you decide to listen rather than speak. So as people are saying, hey, do you know someone who, hey, do you have this? Well, I wish you had that. And you go, no, I just do this. When you stay in your lane too strong and you aren't listening to what other people are asking you or asking about, sometimes you miss opportunities rather than saying like, hey, I could bring this into my business. That's how my business grew because people kept saying like, hey, can you do a wine tour? And I'd say, no, there's all other great companies that do wine tours. Hey, do you have a beer tour? No, there's other great companies that, and I realized there was this whole other product offering that I was just saying, no, I just stay in my lane. Good to stay in your lane and perfect it. But once you've perfected it and you have a loyal client base, listen to what they're asking. Because what they're asking you, you might be able to bring in as another stream of revenue that you had never thought about before. Like I think travel agents have a real opportunity for multiple streams because when people travel, they need certain things. They want certain things. Yeah, I would just say be very open to listening to what's going on around you because you might be able to bring multiple streams into your business. And that's the magic sauce, multiple streams. Yeah, for sure.
Love it. So where can people find you? If people want to experience small town Ontario in a way that they would never imagine is possible, how can they find Tasty Road Trips?
Well, Tasty Road Trip, Tasty Road, Trips, TRIPS, Tasty Road Trip. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me very active on Instagram, and you can also find me on Threads. You can just Google Tasty Road Trip or Spicy Jan, and you'll probably find Tasty Road Trips come up. Got lots of 5-star reviews on Google. We seem like we're in the nice algorithm to be found. If you're on Threads, go over to Threads, meet me on Threads. I'm loving Threads, but Instagram is where I play and, or Jan at tastyroadtrips.com. Tasty Road Trips, any way you type it in most platforms, you're going to find me, Jay. I'm there. I'm hanging out.
You own it on the internet. It's yours. And what about, for anyone who's listening, and who feels like you may be able to support them as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
I believe that's something you do from a consulting side as well.
Do.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And how would people find you? Is the best way to find you that same way through Tasty Road Trips, or is another way to find you for that specific purpose?
Well, it's all, people can always find me through Tasty Road Trips. It's a great, entry point, but I do have a coaching and consulting business. I do tourism consulting, and small business coaching at JanCreateYourVirtualInfluence.com. Tasty Road Trips is really just a great stream through. It's easy to remember, Spicy Jan, and you can find me over there as well.
Amazing. Before we go, I'm going to tell you a funny story that I don't know if I should tell you. And Ryan's not here today. He's at a ball game, a Blue Jays game, with his mom and his brother. I believe it's either for birthday, Mother's Day, something like that. So that's why he's not here co-hosting with me today. So he's not here to stop me. So I'm going to tell this story. When we first met you, sometimes when you say something the wrong way first, you never get it right again. I called you Tasty Jan from Spicy Road Trips. And it was, I think I'd said it a few times and Ryan sort of stopped me and it's just like, it's not Tasty Jan from Spicy Road Trips. It's Spicy Jan from Tasty Road Trip. When somebody corrects you and it just makes it worse. And now you're like, which one is it? And so because, we worked a lot together at one point and so, we spoke about you, and hey, when's our next meeting with Jan, all that sort of thing. And we had a little rule within places that I wasn't allowed to say your name when we were either making social media posts that included you, or when we were talking to you on a call, I was not allowed to say your name in case I accidentally
Call me Tasty
called
Jan.
you Tasty Jan. And so if you think back, you may now recognize that I actually didn't say your name, if ever, and it's because there was a rule that I just wasn't allowed. So it was always, "Hi, how are you?" Not "Hi, Jan," because I like to add some character and go, "Hey, hi, it's Tasty Jan, how you doing?" But for the level of fear that everybody had, that I would come out and say, "Hey, Tasty Jan, how you doing?" It was just, don't speak. We'll handle the names. So I thought you might find that funny. I can tell you.
I didn't know that. So thank you for telling. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I am so happy to have you as our first guest on the Be Entrepreneurial podcast. And thank you for being here. And we will talk to you very soon.
Stay well, AJ. Cheers.